Final Destination Bloodlines is a movie about surviving fate, decoding generational trauma, and watching your family get murked in birth order. Coincidentally, that's also the premise for RFK's autobiography. I'm Bobby Reelz from the Movie Crashers, and this is How to Beat the DNA-Obsessed Death from Final Destination Bloodlines with skunk-drunk Uncle Logic. The movie opens like a Mad Men episode that was scrapped for not enough smoking. It's 1968, and Iris Campbell, a young woman who looks like she came straight from a shampoo commercial where everyone dies, is attending the grand opening of the Skyview Tower with her fiancé. Everything's all retro fancy. Old money fur, casual misogyny, and a live band. But then the people on the dance floor get a little too groovy, and the glass floor cracks. The building starts collapsing like it's a three-letter agency inside job. Beams snap, pianos slide down, and somewhere overhead, a B-52 bomber is already en route to Natural Resources Stand. Iris ends up dangling from the rooftop with a terrified little boy, both clinging to life while the entire building crumbles beneath them like Nixon's composure during his interview with David Frost. Smash cut! A random girl named Stephanie bolts awake and screams so loudly in the middle of class. Like she just remembered she left her acting skills on the bus. Her classmates are staring at her. She stumbles out, dazed. But that night she's back in bed, and boom! Another nightmare. She jolts up, screaming. But this time, her roommate rolls over like she's legally obligated to commit a crime of passion. Stephanie explained she keeps seeing the same woman in these dreams, over and over. She's pretty sure it's her grandmother, Iris, except she's never met her, doesn't know anything about her, and doesn't know how to make these dreams stop. So naturally, her roommate sits up and delivers the wisdom of someone who hasn't slept in 3 nights. She says Stephanie should go home, find her grandma, and figure it out. While the real solution is to be a better college student. You live in the dorms with a roommate. Why are you going to sleep sober? That's not how higher education works. You can't get haunted by nightmares if you black out every night to Ski Yee by Sexy Red. Stop being a virgin about it. Take a shot. Take 3. Chase it with a vape, a lukewarm Truly, and a guy named Kyle who's majoring in business vibes. The only time you should think about your grandma when you're in college is when you run out of money. And the only dream you should have is the one where you spend the whole semester protesting a foreign war on campus. But when Stephanie shows up at home, she's not even fully through the door before realizing nobody wants to talk about Grandma Iris. Every time she brings her up, the room goes quiet like someone just said oopsies at an Eyes Wide Shut party. The aunts deflect, the cousins shrug. Uncle Marty just mumbles something about letting the past be the past, like he's pitching why a Kramer spinoff can work. So Stephanie has to snoop it out. She finds a pile of letters Iris has been sending to Marty, all full of cryptic warnings, dream imagery, and just enough old lady handwriting to feel haunted before you even open one. So naturally, she follows the trail. Turns out Iris isn't in town. She's holed up in some remote, fortified little cabin, like she's taken a gap year to play Death Stranding 2. Stephanie shows up and asks Grandma how to stop the nightmares. And Grandma tells her that back in '68, she had a psychic moment, stopped a tower from turning into a human Jenga set, and Death's been salty about it ever since. Now it hunts their bloodline like the consequences of inbreeding. It skips a generation, but the curse always comes back. And once it starts again, it doesn't stop till the whole family tree gets chainsawed. Stephanie's nightmares, it turns out, are the sign that she's inherited Grandma's premonition powers. The only thing, they've got to fend off death. But Stephanie stares at Iris like she just scrolled her own notes app to the year she was depressed. She doesn't believe a word of it, because apparently, when Stephanie dropped out of college and traveled across state lines to find her grandma and ask how to stop her dreams, she thought Iris was gonna hand her a bottle of melatonin and a weighted blanket. So Iris does what any heartbroken grandma would do to prove her point. She steps outside and lets herself get Final Destination by a wind-powered javelin. All because what Stephanie should have done in this situation was lie. Sometimes lying to your grandma isn't just polite, it's survival. You lie to your grandma when she asks if you still go to church. You lie when she asks if you've been eating enough. You definitely lie when she says you've inherited a psychic curse and death is coming to finish the job she escaped in '68. Lying to grandmas is how society avoids collapse. It's how casseroles stay warm and weather vanes stay out of the skull. And if she starts saying stuff like, TikTok is Chinese, you say, she day. If you vote third party, they put you on a list. You say, as they should. We never had anxiety because we drank from the hose. You go to the backyard and suck on that thing. You nod, you agree, you keep her alive, at least until you've got a better babysitter. So Iris is dead. And like any family with a long history of generational trauma and mild alcoholism, the Campbells decide to hold a funeral, followed by a barbecue. That's when Stephanie's estranged mom, Darlene, shows up, fresh from touring America's worst RV parks and still radiating pure denim MILF energy, the kind that smells like hairspray and unpaid tolls. But when the reunited family moves on to the memorial barbecue, Stephanie doesn't go, because she's busy trying to decode Iris's notebook. As if Iris didn't already deliver the full TED Talk right before letting herself get wind murdered. She's flipping through dream maps and handwritten doom charts, trying to channel vibes into strategy. Meanwhile, back at the house, Death is staging a live demo. A rake gets left in the wrong place. Someone opens a Heist Pale Ale a little too hard. A trampoline gets real suspicious, real fast, and Uncle Howard starts hitting on Stephanie's mom. That's when Stephanie sees a gust of wind send a family photo crash into the floor, and comes to the only logical conclusion. She needs to get to that barbecue, now. And just as she arrives, Uncle Howard steps on a glass shard, screams, stumbles back, and that tiny mistake sets everything off. The hose kicks on, the rake goes flying, and suddenly a lawnmower self-starts and launches itself across the yard like it got MK Ultra'd by DARPA. Howard's face meets steel. Everyone screams. The potato salad is ruined. And Stephanie officially stops wondering if Grandma was exaggerating. Because if you've ever been to a family barbecue, you should know the rule. Never be late. You show up late to a barbecue and suddenly your sister's already crying because someone mentioned her failed OnlyFans where she just read astrology charts in a southern accent. Your uncle is knee-deep in a story that starts with, "I'm not racist, but..." Your brother starts bringing up childhood trauma, and Mom just goes, "That never happened." Barbecues are messy, but the trick is to get there early, then sneak away the moment it gets weird. You know the signs. Your uncle starts giving emotional toasts he clearly didn't rehearse. Two cousins make eye contact for too long and disappear into the woods. And someone turns up the Bluetooth speaker, and suddenly, courtesy of the Red, White, and Blue by Toby Keith is playing louder than anyone's willing to address. That's when you leave. But Stephanie did everything the other way around. And now, just like everyone who stayed sober through the end of a family barbecue, she's traumatized for life. So after Uncle Howard gets turf chopped into Valhalla, Stephanie gathers the family for a little post-funeral PowerPoint of doom. She opens Iris's notebook and explains that Death isn't freelancing. He's on a schedule. Apparently, everyone who survived the Skyview disaster in '68 had kids. And those kids weren't supposed to exist, which a lot of people trying to buy a house in 2025 would probably agree with. So now, Death's playing generational cleanup, picking them off in age order. And the family reacts like any family would when someone makes a good point. They storm out like Stephanie just called their dog ugly at Thanksgiving. Later that night, Eric is closing up his tattoo parlor when Final Destination assembles a death trap using a ceiling fan, a nose ring chain, and fire. But somehow, he survives, because apparently leather jackets are fireproof if you're built like a mid-2000s dirt bike ad. Stephanie shows up and tries to warn him again, but like a general skimming civilian death count, he laughs it off. Then Julia, Stephanie's cousin, gets soccer balled and ends up in a dumpster like a chronic pain patient trying to sue a pharmaceutical company. She gets scooped by a garbage truck. Stephanie chases it. The boys chase it. The compactor activates. And Julia's head gets crushed like the dreams of a morality-driven AI researcher who just got hired by Meta. And that's the moment. They finally believe her. But if you want to make your family believe in something outrageous fast and with minimal casualties, never do it in person. Do it through a blurry Facebook post shared by an unverified account with a name like Patriot Dad 1776. That's how truth travels now. Not from first-hand experience, but from screenshots of a pixelated TikTok with siren emoji, a prayer hands watermark, and a comment that says, "What do you notice?" If Stephanie really wanted the family to believe in the curse, she wouldn't hold a notebook like it's a spell book from Joanne Fabrics. She'd fork out some $200 to a Chinese bot farm to algorithm boost a Canva graphic that says, 7 signs you're being hunted by death. 3 will shock you, because that's not just how you get them to listen. That's how you get them to act. So Stephanie, her emotionally stunted brother, 2 barely employed cousins, and newly emerged mom go looking for a guy named JB. Someone Iris mentioned in her notebook as a guy who knows how to cheat death. Turns out JB is a mortician at a hospital, and he's also Also, the boy Iris saved in '68. He's been tracking death ever since, like a QAnon subreddit with lab access. He lays out the only two ways to cheat the system: kill someone and steal their years, or die and get revived. So, naturally, Nose Ring Guy and Cousin Number 2 decide to trigger Cousin Number 2's peanut allergy, and then bring him back to life. But the only safe place to eat a peanut butter cup they could find was an MRI room, because the burn unit was booked for a vape influencer meet and greet. So, Allergy Guy eats it, but the MRI machine turns on full blast. And Nose Ring Guy gets all his piercings ripped off at once. Then, a wheelchair rams him into the MRI like it's auditioning for Fast and Furious radiology drill. And just as Stephanie and the rest arrive, a vending machine coil launches across the room and stabs Allergy Guy in the cranial peanut pouch. All because if they really wanted to cheat death, they should have done something not even a supernatural force could stop from happening. Like a government scheme. Keep your dead Uncle Howard's name on a bank account. Keep his bills on autopay. File taxes on a condo that fell into a crater during the Skyview Tower collapse. Keep drawing checks from his Social Security. Make him vote by mail, early and often. Death would get confused. He'd get stuck in a loop, chasing a guy who only exists on a floppy disk in a Department of Labor basement. And just like that, you bought yourself an extra life and a second stimulus check. Now down to just 3 survivors. The plan is to pick someone to go hermit mode at Grandma Iris's shack and let the rest live stress-free. Gen Z kids pick mom, because despite the emotional breakthrough, they still low-key hate her for being too free-spirited. But as they illegally crash through the house gates in her RV, a single janky light short circuit, and the whole compound explodes like a fresh-off-the-dealership Hyundai. Stephanie gets pinned by a seatbelt. Her brother's trapped under debris. Mom frees him and immediately gets lampposted like she walked into a DLC she didn't pay for. Stephanie drowns, the brother revives her, and they hug like they just rolled credits on the curse. But a few days later, Stephanie's packing for college. Her brother's off to prom. Everything's calm until a random grandma drops a penny. It lands on the train tracks, and suddenly, a train derails and comes for them like Thomas the Tank Engine finally snapped. All because if you need a location completely safe from accidents, a place where absolutely nothing ever happens, you better go to a 34-year-old nice working guy's apartment. Nothing's happening there. Nothing is there. It's just a mattress, maybe a lamp, no shade. Literally. Stephanie and her mom picked a fortified cabin with gates, cameras, and panic room energy. But a 34-year-old guy's apartment doesn't need all that. No one ever visits. They could have totally crashed there if they didn't mind watching a man silently scroll Instagram until 3 a.m., looking at photos of a girl he's never met, imagining their life together, then waking up early for another 13-hour day of remote work and reheated rice. But no death, though.